Chapter 19, Analyzing Decisions Using Datasets with Multiple Attributes, a Machine Learning Approach. Initial chapter by Jonas Wojcicki from George Mason University and Farrokh Almini from Georgetown University. Now, unfortunately, this summary will be very disappointing if you came looking for a good summary on machine learning in healthcare. Again, this is a chapter from the Handbook of Healthcare Delivery Systems, and the textbook was published in 2010. As you're aware, much has changed in the area of machine learning, and of course machine learning in healthcare in the last decade. And so this chapter, I think the most recent model that it itself quotes as using is one from around 2006, an HHDS.21 rule-based model for machine learning. And so this chapter really approaches a rule-based perspective, which is something from 12 years ago, and now there's a lot more of a trend to a self-learning machine perspective. Now, of course, I think the chapter author would propose that a rule-based model is perhaps better in healthcare. I know that they've continued to publish further papers using their HHDS.21 model, even until recently, suggesting that the benefits of it is that it is highly categorized and adapted to healthcare. But because this chapter is reasonably old on this front, I'll just sort of skip over all that. And the one piece to highlight is this concept of decision analysis and how the textbook approaches how one goes about making a decision, sort of more of a theoretical framework. There's 8 steps. The first is to define the goal, and this is who is the person or the group making the decision, and what is the decision to be addressed. The second is to define the alternatives. What are all the possible ways that that goal can be reached? Third is to define a perspective of the analysis. When coming up with an analytical model, it can be done from the perspective of a pharmaceutical company or of a patient or of a doctor. And each of these different approaches will use a different type of model and arrive at a different viewpoint and conclusion. Potentially, you could actually sum the different viewpoints together using a critical decision analysis. The fourth step is to select the data sources. Are there large established data sets? Is this model based on expert opinion? Are there large unknowns? We move to step 5, is to actually build the model of the alternatives now that you have the data, and use these models in step 6 to make predictions, to evaluate alternatives. In step 7, to perform a sensitivity analysis of the results. And in step 8, to make a recommendation based on that decision analysis. So again, I'm sorry to disappoint that this chapter title is probably far more exciting than this very brief summary was. But we'll come back to machine learning at a future point once this textbook is finished.